Thank you for staying with us on Joy News, and time now for the Sport on Pulse. I'm Gary L. Smith. We are looking at the top players who are involved in the transfer window from Ghana. Now, this transfer season has not been very, very kind to Ghana's top players, especially considering what other teams have been able to do following their exploits at the Africa Cup of Nations. This time, we had not a lot of activity. However, what we do know is that some of them had good moves. And Ore Kwampofo is in the studio with me to take a look at the list of 5 that we here have drawn to give you an idea of those who did well. Reku.
Hi, Gary.
Yes, so first of all, we begin with England and Ghana's top scorer, the AFCON.
Yeah, Jordan Ayew. And he seems to have benefited from a good Africa Cup of Nations. It served him well as a preseason. He's carried the form into the new season. And he's already fired up. Last season, he was on loan at Crystal Palace. Now he had to be re-signed on a permanent basis from Swansea just for 2.5 million. And he's already scored 2 goals for Crystal Palace, equaling the total number of goals he scored for them last season. So we do have the benefit of hindsight for this move. And I think that he's been good for Palace. And with the start that he has had, it's probably going to be better for him this season.
From one J to another, we move over this time to Spain. This player was also part of our AFCON setup, and he started the season quite well. We are talking, of course, about Joseph Edu.
Yeah, Joseph Edu. He moved to Celta Vigo. Quite a number of Ghanaians have moved to the La Liga, actually. But he moved from Genk to Celta Vigo for a fee reported around $10 million. And for a club like Celta Vigo to pay such an amount for a player, that means that they did really have good plans for him. And so far, he's featured in all their La Liga games, and I must say he's looked really solid and fit into their
$10 million. That's about €8 million.
Yeah, so it's quite a hefty amount. Yeah, so I think that a lot is expected of him. He was highly rated at Genk, and they didn't want to let him go, but eventually moved on to Celta, and so far he's been good for them too.
What are his attributes, Joseph Edu? I mean, some people saw him during the AFCON, but it might take a bit to jog their memory.
Yeah, he's a fast defender, very, very powerful and pacey. And what makes him stand out is the fact that he can also play at the back, and he's very comfortable. And if you did watch their match over the weekend against Sevilla, for a second you would have been scared for him. You know, going through 2 strikers in his own penalty box. He's that type of player, very, very confident and not scared.
Comfortable on the ball.
Yeah, extremely. Yeah.
So moving on from Jordan Ayew and Joseph Edu, we go to, so those were 2 J's. We might now want to go to a K. And the most high-profile K Ghanaian player out there has to be Kevin Prince Boateng. He was playing for Barca in a move that I don't think he himself understands why he made that move. But what we do know is that he moved to Italy, and his luck and good form continued this time, Kevin.
Yeah, I think that it's a good move for him, given the fact that he has spent most of his time at Sassuolo. And that's also in Italy. And as you rightly stated, this past 6 months have been quite scary, you know, sitting on the bench at Barcelona, not really getting a lot of game time. But his agent does deserve probably all the accolades in the award right now. And he managed to find yet again another big club. And what makes the Fiorentina move more interesting is the fact that, you know, they're on a project, you know, signing key players because they want to move on to the next level. Last year they struggled with relegation and probably want to push towards the European spot. So they bought the likes of Frank Ribery, Gazal from Leicester City, and a whole mention of players. So it's a good deal for them, and he's already started, you know, getting his debut goal against Napoli. Unfortunately, they did lose that game, but he should add some firepower to Fiorentina.
Next up on the alphabetical order, we've done 2 J's and a K. We might now as well move to an L, right? Lumo Agbenyanu has also had a good move in this transfer window, also part of that Ghana team that went to the AFCON. So playing for the national team does seem to have its benefits, doesn't it? Lumo Agbenyanu.
Yeah, Lumo, he's the guy who started the journey with Ghana in the Africa Cup of Nations against Benin, was dropped up until our last game against Tunisia. So he was our alpha and our omega in the AFCON. But moving on to club football, I think that he didn't have the best of years, and probably that move to Sporting Lisbon last season came a bit too early for him. He was loaned in the second half to Godsepe, and in both these clubs, he managed just 10 appearances in the Portuguese league. And, you know, moving on joining the whole host of Ghanaians playing in La Liga now, it did look like a good move. Now, I use the word did because unfortunately for him, just yesterday, Baba Rahman joined. And so the competition in the national team, the reason why he didn't play all the Africa Cup of Nations games, that reason is back in Mallorca. And it would be very, very interesting to see how that pans out.
Yeah, so that's Lumo Agbenyanu there. In the past 2 games or so, or 3, he's been the resident left back for his club. Now, and as Reku says, Baba Rahman has joined from Chelsea on loan, and it means then that they are going to continue their rivalry at the national team at the club side. The final player we'll look at in our top 5 is Nana Ampoma. He's not a name that is very regular to Ghanaian watchers because he's not featured in the national team, but he's been around in Europe and he's been a focal point for a lot of those who watch the minor European leagues as well. Where is he now? What's he doing?
Well, so he moved from Belgium to Germany, and he used to play for Beveren. And over there, I think he had a very good season, managing 30 appearances where he scored 8 goals, given 7 assists. So a goal, assist total of about 15. That was extremely good considering the pool of talent for Ghanaian players when you look at that. So his performances did earn him a move to Germany, and hopefully he does hit the ground running, because last weekend, surprisingly, he joined Fortuna Düsseldorf.
Yeah.
And 4 Ghanaian players joined that club this transfer window, from Kasim Nuhu to Bernard Tekpete, and then Kelvin Ofori, a very young midfielder, under 17 coming up, and then Nana Ampoma. So 4 of them, but unfortunately, none of them started over the weekend and even made the bench. So hopefully we do see them involved. I'm excited for Nana Ampoma. I think that he's a promising and enterprising winger who could help Ghana in future. So hopefully he does get more game time and we do see him in action.
Right, so that's our top 5 in terms of the players who have moved in this transfer window. There were some who were also waiting for moves. That's another top 5 we can talk about another time. But one of that list that we definitely would have mentioned would have been Andre Ayew. He, as you know, has said that he's staying at Swansea City. He says he's happy there. And considering the way the championship side have started and the way they are using him, more importantly, it does make quite a bit of sense that he's not moving. Later, we'll look at the players who were not able to move, even though they were pining for the transfer out of their clubs. That's it for the sport. Thank you, Riku, and for helping us with the analysis. I'm Gary Al Smith, and Gifty is here to finish things off.